Joining us is former United States Attorney General and U.S. Senate candidate Jeff Sessions. Jeff, thank you for speaking with us.
Thanks, Paige. It's good to be with you in Houston County land. Good to talk to you.
Thank you. Jeff, over the weekend you had some heated words with President Donald Trump and about his decision to endorse your opponent, Tommy Tuberville. What led you to making that tweet?
Well, you know, the president has every right to endorse who he chooses to endorse, but I wanted to say clearly that I did what I believed I was required to do under the law with regard to recusing myself from an investigation of a campaign that I played a big role in, that I also would have been a witness in, and that they were actually looking at me too, accusing me of being connected to the Russians. So it was just not feasible or practical, and it would not have worked for me to try to supervise an investigation that I was involved in. It just could not be, and I did what I had to do. And I did want to make sure that I made that clear. But I would say this, Paige, there's not any policy disagreements that we've had. I stood with him. I was the first senator to endorse him. I stood for him throughout the campaign and have advanced his agenda because I believe in it. It's Alabama's agenda. We need to get it done. We need to end the illegality at the border. We need to stand up to unfair trading practices. We need to stand up to China and defend our interests. There's so many important things that he's leading on, protecting our American workers from foreign imported workers. Those things that he's strong on, I totally am supportive of and have always been.
Have you become, for lack of a better word, fed up with having to defend that decision?
No, I'm not fed up. The president, is frustrated about it, but I would say there's no doubt that when I get to the United States Senate, I'll be a lot more effective voice to carry out the Trump agenda than my opponent, who's shown very little interest in these issues. And in fact, on a number of them, like China and trade, he is taking positions very, very different from President Trump, very different from Alabama values. For example, Tommy Tuberville said he opposes tariffs. He is a 100% free trader. That's not President Trump's view. That's not my view. That's not Alabama's view. We've got to defend our manufacturing base, defend our American jobs against unfair competition, and tariffs are certainly part of that effort. And President Trump used tariffs to bring Canada and Mexico to the table and end NAFTA. That's how he did it. So, and we're using it against China now. That's important. He also says we can't worry about China now, even during this pandemic. When the president said we've got to have a full investigation, as I have, and those are things that are really important. I am going to be an advocate for the president's agenda, that's for sure.
You've challenged Tommy to several debates around the state. Tell us about that.
It's time for him to show what he believes, where he stands, what his understanding of the great issues of our time are. Just in December, he said there are 400,000 Indian skilled workers that we want them to come to the United States and take jobs here. These are not agricultural workers he's talking about. He's talking about white-collar jobs, information technology jobs. We've even seen in the last few days that the Tennessee Valley Authority is firing and getting rid of 20% of its IT workforce and replacing them with basically contract labor from India. This is a big issue of our time. We can't have the TVA laying off American workers and bringing in workers from abroad to take these jobs. So we've got to stand up and defend that, particularly in this time of massive unemployment. We have no jobs in America. Don't people know that? We need to reduce and stop the inward flow of more workers now, because we just don't have any jobs for our own people, much less foreign workers.
Is there anything else you would like to discuss while we have you here with us?
Well, I think as we deal with China, Tommy Tuberville has been very strange in his handling of China. He says we can't worry about China now. He says that China controls everything, but there's nothing we can do about it. He said just a couple of days ago they have the strongest military in the world, which is totally not true. They got a rising military, but they're totally not the #1 military in the world. Nothing like the fabulous military that we have and the people we have at Fort Rucker and places like that are so fine and so fabulous. So I just would say there are a lot of big issues here. We need to see Tommy Tuberville stand up, defend what he believes, tell us what he believes. At age 65, he never made a political contribution, never announced who he supports, never supported President Trump, never gave him a dime, never said a kind word about him during that Titanic campaign with Hillary Clinton that we worked so hard on. So I just would say that's why we need a debate. It's not a gimmick. It's an opportunity for Tommy Tuberville to quit running, to man up, defend what he says, and say it to my face, and let's have it out.
Former United States Attorney General and U.S. Senate candidate Jeff Sessions, thank you for joining us.